Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going to be taking a look at Rebecca Yarros' Fourth Wing.
Oh yeah, Fourth Wing. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. We've got some excerpts, so we're going to be diving deep into the world of Navarre. Think dragons, a tough training academy, and a heroine who isn't exactly who you'd expect. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So one of the things that really stood out to me right away is how Navarre is totally dependent on their dragon raiders. And they've got these powerful wards, right, that block any magic that's not dragon-related.
Which makes them super vulnerable if anything happens to those wards or the dragons themselves.
Yeah, it makes you think, like, what would happen if those wards fail?
Exactly. It's a huge risk.
And the excerpts mention these rebellion relics, too.
Oh yeah, those are interesting. They seem to be connected to some past conflict, maybe even a weakness within Navarre itself. Like, what happened? How did this rebellion come about? And what are these relics all about?
It's like there's this whole hidden history that we're just starting to uncover. And then there's the whole caste system thing. You've got the writers, obviously, at the top.
Literally soaring above everyone else.
Yeah. And then you've got the scribes, healers, and infantry.
All playing their part, but definitely not as glamorous or powerful as the writers. I mean, let's face it. Everyone wants to be a dragon rider in Navarre.
Right. It's like the ultimate status symbol.
Right.
But it's also incredibly dangerous.
Oh, yeah. The higher you climb in this world, the greater the risk.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our main character, Violet. She's the daughter of a famous general, comes from a whole rider dynasty, so you'd think she'd be all about the dragons, right?
Totally. But here's the twist. She'd rather have her nose in a book than be on Dragonback.
Let's talk about a rebel.
I know, right? It's like she's going against everything her family, her society expects of her, and her mother is not happy about it.
You could feel that tension in the excerpts, right? The mother pushing her towards the Riders Quadrant while Violet's dreaming of becoming a scribe. It's like a clash of values, a battle between tradition and individual desire. And it makes you wonder, is there even room for someone like Violet in Navarre? Someone whose strength lies in knowledge and strategy rather than brute force?
Yeah, and it's not just that she's a bookworm. Violet also isn't physically what you'd expect from a writer candidate.
Which instantly makes her an underdog, someone we can root for. You find yourself wondering, how is she going to survive in this cutthroat world? How is she going to prove herself when she doesn't fit the mold?
Right. It's like she's starting at a disadvantage. But maybe that's what makes her so interesting. And then there's the Riders Quadrant itself. This training academy is brutal.
Intense is an understatement. The selection process is designed to weed out the weak, starting with this terrifying thing called the parapet.
Yeah, the parapet. Imagine a narrow bridge. Right?
Oh yeah, and not just any bridge. This one spans a massive chasm.
And one wrong step means certain death.
It's not just about training, it's about survival. The way Yarros describes it, you can practically feel the terror as Violet crosses, knowing that one slip could be her last.
And she's not the only one struggling. Some people don't make it across. It really sets the tone for the whole quadrant experience.
Yeah, right away. You know, this is a world with high stakes, a world where weakness is not tolerated. It's like a microcosm of Navarre itself, this constant pressure to be strong, to never show vulnerability.
And then there are the characters we meet. We've got Dane, Violet's childhood friend. He seems to be looking out for her. Could there be some romance brewing there?
Possibly. But there's also this question of trust, right? Can she really rely on him? His motivations aren't completely clear yet. And then there's Xaden Riorson, the brooding wing leader.
Yeah, he's a total enigma.
He's got this aura of power and secrecy, and there's definitely something in his past. The excerpts hint at a connection to the rebellion, which makes his relationship with Violet even more intriguing.
And let's not forget Jack, the classic bully who seems to have it out for Violet.
Oh yeah, Jack. He's like the antagonist you love to hate.
Yeah.
The excerpts don't reveal much about him yet, but it's clear he's going to be a thorn in Violet's side.
Totally. It's like Violet's got all these complicated relationships to navigate. Alliances, betrayals, hidden agendas. It's all brewing in this pressure cooker of a quadrant.
Right. And that's just the human side of things. Then there are the dragons. And Violet's journey to bond with one.
Which is a whole other level of intense.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're just getting started. There's so much more to uncover, more twists and turns to come. So stay tuned, because our deep dive into Fourth Wing is just getting started.
You got that right. We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis from the world of Fourth Wing.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Fourth Wing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around Violet bonding with two dragons. Like, what are the chances?
I know, right? It's unheard of. It's like she's breaking all the rules from the very beginning. but it's got to mean something, right? Two dragons choosing one rider.
Oh, it definitely means something. It suggests something extraordinary about Violet, something that sets her apart from all the other riders. Maybe she's got this hidden power, some kind of connection to the dragons that nobody else has. Remember, she's a descendant of Navarre's founders, and there are hints that her family history is tied to the dragons themselves.
Yeah, like maybe there's some ancient prophecy or something.
Exactly, and that makes her even more of a threat to the rebels, doesn't it? If she really is this chosen one, she could be the key to defeating them. But it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Right.
We know that different dragon breeds have varying strengths and weaknesses, even personalities.
Like some are more aggressive.
Yeah, and some are better suited for combat, while others are more agile or have unique abilities.
Yeah.
So Violet's not just dealing with one powerful ally, she's got two, each with their own quirks and baggage.
Oh, like having kids.
Exactly. You've got Terran, her black dragon, who's described as this dominant force of nature, almost primal in his instincts. And then you've got Andarna, the golden dragon, who's more gentle, even capable of communicating with Violet telepathically.
Whoa, hold on. She can talk to her dragon.
That's what the excerpts suggest. It's like having a built-in best friend and battle partner all rolled into one.
Okay, but seriously, though, that's got to be so cool.
It's mind-blowing. But also creates a whole new set of challenges for Violet. She has to learn how to manage their different personalities, understand their strengths and weaknesses, and figure out how to work with them as a team.
Yeah, it's like having two very different teammates, each with their own opinions and ways of doing things.
It's almost like a metaphor for the challenges she faces in the Riders Quadrant itself, right? She's constantly trying to balance her own desires with the expectations of her family and her society. It's a constant dance of adaptation and resilience. And speaking of challenges, let's talk about the Gauntlet. This is one of the most intense trials that the riders have to face, and it's brutal.
Oh man, the gauntlet. It's like something straight out of a nightmare.
It's this insane obstacle course carved into the face of a cliff, with spinning logs, treacherous climbs, ramps that are practically vertical.
It sounds insane.
It's designed to push the riders to their absolute limits, both physically and mentally. And Yarros doesn't hold back on the descriptions. You can practically feel the exhaustion, the fear, the adrenaline pumping as Violet tackles each obstacle.
And all of this before they even get on a dragon.
Exactly. It's like a test of their raw strength and determination before they're even allowed to bond with their dragons.
I think I'd tap out after the first climb.
It really makes you appreciate the level of dedication and resilience required to even survive in this world, let alone excel. These riders aren't just warriors. They're pushing themselves beyond what most people would consider humanly possible. And Violet, with her physical limitations, is proving that strength comes in many forms. It's pretty inspiring, actually.
Oh, absolutely. She's not letting her limitations define her. She's pushing harder, digging deeper, refusing to give up. It makes you wonder if those weaknesses might actually become her greatest strengths.
Right. Maybe her determination, her intellect, her ability to think outside the box will be what sets her apart.
Yeah, maybe the gauntlet is more about strategy and problem solving than just brute force.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual achievement either. There are moments where the riders help each other out, offering advice, or even risking their own safety to assist a struggling teammate.
Oh, wow. So even in this cutthroat competition, there's still some sense of camaraderie.
Yeah, it's like they recognize that they're all in this together, facing these incredible challenges. They share this bond that transcends rivalry.
That's actually kind of heartwarming.
But let's not forget the Gauntlet also reveals the darker side of the quadrant. There's sabotage, cutthroat competition, and some riders who are willing to do whatever it takes to eliminate their rivals.
Yeah, that's right.
It makes you think about the true cost of ambition. How far are these riders willing to go to achieve their goals?
And how can Violet possibly navigate all of this? It's like she's got to constantly be on guard.
Right. You never know who you can truly trust. And speaking of trust, let's circle back to Violet's latent magical abilities. We know they manifest during a moment of extreme stress, but the excerpts leave us hanging on the specifics.
It's killing me. Like, what kind of powers does she have, and where did they come from?
It's a total cliffhanger. It keeps us on the edge of our seats, eager to learn more. But it also raises questions about magic in this world. Is it connected to her dragon bonding? Or is it something deeper, something inherited from her ancestors?
And how is she going to learn to control these powers? Especially since non-dragon magic is forbidden in Navarre.
Exactly. We know that magic can be dangerous, even deadly, if it's not controlled. And Violet's powers are tied to her emotions, which makes them even more unpredictable.
What's going to happen when people find out? Will she be seen as a threat?
It's a question that hangs over the whole narrative. And remember, we're just scratching the surface here. We haven't even talked about the rebellion in detail yet, or the looming threat of the Venin.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the Venin. Those creepy, dark, magic-wielding creatures that everyone's so afraid of. What's their deal?
Well, they're basically the ultimate evil in this world. They represent chaos and destruction, and they're constantly trying to break through the wards that protect Navarre.
So the wards are like the only thing keeping them out?
It seems that way, which makes the whole situation even more precarious, right?
Right.
If the wards fail, Navarre is wide open to attack. And with the rebellion potentially weakening the kingdom from within, it's a recipe for disaster.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
It's definitely unsettling. And it raises the stakes for Violet's journey. She's not just fighting for her own survival or even the survival of her fellow riders. She's potentially fighting for the fate of her entire kingdom.
So much pressure.
It's a lot to handle. But if anyone can do it, I think Violet can.
I'm starting to think she can, too. She's definitely got what it takes. But we're running out of time, and we still haven't even touched on the romance.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We've got Dane, the loyal childhood friend, and then there's Azaden, the mysterious brooding wing leader.
And they both seem to be interested in Violet.
It's a classic love triangle, but with dragons and rebellion thrown into the mix.
So who's she going to choose?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But we're going to have to save that discussion for the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned because things are about to get even more intense in the world of Fourth Wing. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our Fourth Wing deep dive. And I'm still thinking about Violet's training. Like, how much of it is just about physical strength and dragon riding?
Yeah, good point. I mean, she's obviously going to learn how to ride a dragon, right?
Right.
But it's so much more than that. Remember, Violet's not your typical rider. She's got this, like, sharp mind, you know?
Yeah, totally. She's like a strategist.
Right. And she's curious, always asking questions, digging deeper. Yeah. So her training goes beyond the physical. She's learning strategy, history, even delving into...
Ooh, forbidden magic.
Yeah, like there's this whole world of non-dragon magic that's been outlawed in Navarre for centuries, right?
Right.
But Violet's drawn to it.
Yeah.
She's like instinctively drawn to knowledge that others fear.
It's like she's meant to challenge the status quo.
Yeah. Like she's not afraid to push the boundaries.
Yeah.
And think about it. If she can master both dragon magic and this forbidden magic, she'll be unstoppable.
Unstoppable. But let's talk about Dragonflight for a second. Rebecca Yarros really brings it to life. I mean, you can practically feel the wind in your hair as you're like soaring through the skies. It sounds exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Like you're right there with Violet, feeling the power of the dragon beneath you.
Right.
But it's not just about the thrill of flight, though. Dragonflight is a crucial aspect of warfare in Navarre.
Oh, right. Dragons aren't just pets.
Exactly. They're weapons. And Violet's training includes learning how to use her dragons in combat, like how to strategize, anticipate enemy movements, and basically unleash their power with devastating effect.
So she's got to learn to think like a warrior.
Yeah. She's got to assess situations, make split-second decisions that could mean the difference between life and death. And remember, she's got 2 dragons to manage with different abilities and personalities.
Oh, man. That's a lot to handle. It's like, what do they call it? Like playing chess on Dragonback.
Huh. Something like that. But let's go back to the rebellion for a moment.
Yeah.
We were talking about how some of Violet's fellow riders are actually descendants of rebels, right?
Yeah, and even some of the people she thought she could trust. It's crazy.
It's a total game changer. And it raises so many questions like, who can Violet really rely on? And what are the rebels' ultimate goals? Are they trying to overthrow the monarchy? Or is there something else going on?
It's like, what's their end game?
Right. The excerpts hint at a long and bloody history between the rebels and the ruling family of Navarre. It's like these deep-seated wounds that haven't healed, and they're starting to, like, fester.
Ooh, that's a good word for it. Fester. And then there's the whole thing about the rebellion relics.
Oh, yeah, those relics. It turns out a lot of the riders have them, including Violet, and they seem to be more than just family heirlooms.
Yeah, what's the deal with those? Like, what secrets do they hold? Do they contain clues about the rebellion or maybe even a way to defeat them?
It's got to be something important, right?
Right.
I mean, they wouldn't just be carrying them around for no reason. It's like they're holding a piece of the past in their hands.
Yeah.
And they're not even sure what it means yet.
Yeah, that's going to be frustrating. Okay, but we can't forget about the Vinin.
The Vinin. Oh, man. These creatures are terrifying. Like, straight out of a nightmare.
Yeah, they wield dark magic and everyone's so afraid of them.
And for good reason. I mean, they represent, like, the ultimate threat. They're the embodiment of chaos and destruction. And the excerpt suggests that their existence is somehow tied to the wards that protect Navarre. So the same magic that keeps them out could also be what makes the kingdom vulnerable.
Okay, now that's just messed up. So if the wards fail, the Venom could just, like, sweep in and destroy everything.
It's a terrifying thought, right?
Yeah.
This constant sense of dread hanging over everything. And then you've got Violet with her forbidden magic. Could her powers be the key to defeating the Venom?
Maybe. But couldn't they also make her a target? Like, what if she accidentally attracts them or something?
It's a possibility, right? We just don't know enough yet. But that's what makes Fourth Wing so gripping. It's this constant tension between hope and fear, between Violet's potential for good and the potential for, like, unimaginable destruction.
It's a roller coaster of emotions, for sure. But beyond all the action and the intrigue, there's also this, like, really beautiful exploration of human nature, like the complexities of love, loyalty, and betrayal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Violet's relationships are so complex, and she's constantly struggling to connect with people and find her place in the world.
And it's all happening against the backdrop of this epic battle between good and evil.
Right. But at the end of the day, it's the human connections that really matter. The bonds we forge, the choices we make, even in a world of magic and dragons, it's the human element that makes the story resonate.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing that's, like, really sticking with you?
I think for me, it's the idea that even when things are tough, even when the world seems like it's against you, there's always hope. Violet never gives up. She keeps fighting, keeps learning, and keeps pushing herself to be better.
It's a powerful message, right?
It is. It's like a reminder that we all have that strength inside us. Maybe we just need a fire-breathing dragon on a little forbidden magic to bring it out. So if you haven't already, definitely check out Fourth Wing. It's an amazing story. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat from beginning to end. And it'll make you think about the choices you would make if you were in Violet's shoes. Who would you trust? What would you fight for?
Wow. Great questions. Well, that's it for our deep dive into Fourth Wing. Thanks for joining us.